for this one, we're actually going to use an object the artist made. He's been very famous for making the boxes of peace. So in this, he paints the box on his signature painting style. So this is what he's been renowned and known for. Alright, so we'll take this image of the cube. We'll take the image of the cube. I'm going to use my marquee because it's just a square. I'm going to come up a little because I don't want the thumb. Then I'm going to go with my move tool. I'm going to drag it up to where I have. Alright. And now I turned back on my golden means. And we'll go Control T to make this smaller. Control J. Control J. Control J. F4. Odd numbers, remember, are best. So now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And notice how they are following the curve of the golden mean. So we're using our golden mean to help us plot out the eye movement of the artwork, as well as to help us guide on what the size of objects should be. On here, we're going to go Control T. And Control T. Leave that one. Control T. And enter. And Control T. Now that's smaller. Oh, we have some of his work. We can go ahead and turn off. Okay. I like this sand so much, I'm going to go Control J. I like the sand so much, I've copied it. Now I'm going to move it up above the gradient. Alt key. Apply it just to the gradient. And I'm going to reduce the opacity. Just want a little bit of texture on him. You don't see much of it, but it just gives him a little bit more texture. So there we go. Now I want to bring him and the background sort of together. So one of the ideas in this project is that you're going to mix elements, earth, water, and fire. So we're going to come to our brush tool. Like that brush that we started out with. And you can paint on your layer mask. So let's click on the layer mask, our Option key, just so that you can see what the layer mask looks like. Notice the layer mask is just black and white. It also can contain gray. What is black is masked out, and what is white is allowed to come through. So we're in our layer mask, and we're just randomly, not too much, having some of that sand come through. Make my brush a little smaller, and bring some of that sand just a little outliers here. A little. Okay. So now it looks like some of the sand is coming up. And what we've done is we started to create some depth into our work. So it doesn't look so flat. We're allowing something to be in front, which is some of the sand we brought in. We have our figure, and then we have the back. Okay. So let's do a little manipulation on our figure. Let's come over to our burn tool, and let's make this side a little darker. Since it's sort of in that sand there. Over here, let's increase the brightness by using our dodge tool. Just to give a little bit more darkness to it. Now let's group. Let's add a group. And let's take our boxes and move them into the group. This way, it's easier for us to find them. Control T. And with Control T, you can rotate. So we're going to rotate them now. After I've hit Control T and I rotate it, I hit Enter. It's always nice when you have objects that also go off the frame. So we have the character going off the frame, and over here we have one of the boxes going off the frame. That adds to a very dynamic work of art. Now, what we want to do is take these boxes and add a little bit more with the transform. So I'm going to go with Control T. And up here, I'm going to go to my free transform. So I'm going to click, and I have what is a grid. So I'm just going to slightly, not a lot, that one there. Control T, free transform. Control T, free transform. Almost making it look like paper. Alright. And now, starting with this one, I see there's a little curve from here. It's curving over. So I'm going to say that this is a little darker. And zoom in. Make your brush smaller. And I'm going to go here and make that a little brighter. And then our next one down here. Alright. This here is hitting the lights. This is going to be brighter. Make sure you're on the right layer. So that's going to be brighter. And it's going to be a little darker here. Over here, going to be a little darker, so let's go to that layer. And right up here, a little brighter. Okay, that just adds a little texture to it. Now we're going to come and we're going to go to hue saturation. And again, we'll hold down our Alt key to apply it just to our group. And here's our hue. And so we can change the color of the box to match. I'm going to go with more of the purple. But if any time you do not like the color, and think it's a little too much, so I want to come back. You can change them. So it's called non-destructive editing, which in other words means that you can take that edit that you had just applied and you can change it. Now we're going to take our character and we are going to duplicate him, Control J. We're going to take the top one, we're going to go to adjustments. So we haven't talked much about our top layers here. Edit, these have to do with your fill and stroke. We'll look at those a little later. Image, adjustment is we do quite a bit. We've looked at brightness control, vibrancy, threshold. Many of these are the same ones that you saw down here, like hue saturation. This one, we're going to desaturate. In other words, we made it black and white. You can see right there. We're going to go to, for you, I believe it says artistic. For me, it's filter gallery. And I like color pencil, cutout. I like dry brush. Pull the detail out and hit OK. And then let's blend that in. Finding the right setting. And oftentimes I'll find a setting and I'll go back and change it later on for my blending ones. Alright. It's a little strong. So I'm getting a little bit more of a painter quality. So I just want you to compare what we started with and where you are now, and looking at the different qualities of what you can do to your characters. And we'll add a drop shadow as our last little thing to our boxes. And we applied it just to the folder, and that way it applies to all of our boxes at once. Makes it a lot easier. We could have done it for each one individually.